So Alex, I've shown you all the characters. I've had you guess the rarity of the characters. So today I wanted to do something slightly different, and I wanted to show you the enemies that you actually fight in the game.
Okay then.
I'm going to go through this one at a time. I'll tell you a little bit about them, and then more than anything, I just want you to tell me what you think about them, if you like the look of them, if you think they'd look better in a different way. And then I'm going to ask you to rate them out of 10, with 1 being a pushover, you don't even need to worry about them, all the way up to 10 being like almost impossible to beat, you'd have to try several times.
Cool, sounds good. Let's go.
So I'm going to start off with slimes. So there are many different kinds of slimes. What you're seeing here now are anime slimes, like air slimes. There's slimes for all the elements, so you'll see through them all. Here we have cryo slimes.
They're not as fun. They look derpy.
And each different slime stuff has a different thing.
Looks like a radish? A radish is white? I don't know.
The leaves are green.
Yeah. No, I don't like them.
You don't like the electro ones?
No. They don't look slimy enough.
These are geo slimes, like rock slimes.
They don't look like Geo, but I like the ears.
Yeah, they're
The
like
ears are adorable.
chunky rocky bits on top of them.
Yeah, they should do it more like ice, where they have like a whole rock thing on top of them.
Then we have hydro slimes, water ones.
They just look like the air ones, to be honest.
They do a bit, yeah.
They don't really look any different.
So, what would you sort of give these a difficulty rating out of 10?
Like a 1 or a 2. They really don't seem very, like, good.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'd say like a high 2 maybe. They're not too much to worry about. If there has lots of them, you could maybe consider that a threat, but usually it's sort of safe with these.
They're too derpy to be strong.
Yeah, you're right. So let's begin to another elemental enemy, which is the Eye of the Storm.
They're like witches or something.
Yeah, they're
I'm
like
so
these.
confused what I'm looking at.
They're these floaty sort of balls of air. They're the wind element or the air element, and they sort of fly around. They do lots of powers that either suck you in or blow you away.
They look more like geode than air. Because they've got like a whole rock.
Oh, geo.
Oh, yeah, it looks more like a rock type.
I see that with the shell.
Yeah,
So how would you rate these out of 10 for difficulty?
like a 4 or a 5. So we're in the middle. Not too bad, not too strong.
Yeah, I'd say they're not super strong. If you don't have an archer, it can take you a while to get them, because when they're flying around, you can't hit them,
Yeah, true.
which is quite annoying. But they're not super strong. And the final elemental enemy that I have for you here today is a Geo Vishap, which is this sort of a Geo elemental. It's a bit like a little lizard. It rolls, it digs underground.
It's so quick.
It's a bit like Sonic.
I can barely even tell where he is. I don't know how I feel about this one. Like, it looks cool, but it doesn't. I don't know if I'd enjoy fighting it. It's a bit boring.
Do you think? It's moving around a lot.
Yeah, but that's why. Like, you just can't ever see it. He's either rolling or he's stood. I feel like there's not much in between.
So see, when he goes underground, he drops those little shields.
Yeah.
And when if you have one, if he rolls into you while you have a shield up, he will sort of get knocked over.
All right. Yeah, see, he's just not interesting. Like, he even generates his own thing of.
How to beat them.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you give these out of 10 for difficulty?
See, I'd only want them to be like a 3, but they're probably like a 6 or a 7, realistically.
Okay, I would probably give it maybe a 5. They're not
Okay.
really tough. As you said, they sort of provide their own weakness to
Yeah.
you. I really like them. I think they're quite cute.
I don't know. They're just a bit boring.
Okay, so next we're going to go to an enemy which is known as Hilichurls. So they're a bit like goblins, I guess, the game's equivalent of goblins.
Yeah.
You see here, there's one with a club and a shield, and then there's another with a crossbow.
Yeah.
You'll see in a minute. They have quite a variety of different sort of weapons and tools and fighting styles. So this one is digging in the ground to throw things at you. And he's throwing rocks. There's another one with a club.
I don't know if I like these. Again, like the other one, I just feel like it's a bit boring. There's nothing particularly special about it.
I will agree, on their own, they are quite underwhelming. This one has a flaming
that
torch.
one's more interesting because like the colour scheme is different as well.
Yeah, they do have, like, this one's sort of a pyro one. There are cryo ones,
Yeah.
electro ones in the new area. If you see here, the rain, it puts out his torch, which I
Yeah.
think is quite fun.
Yeah, like the standard ones just seem very boring. Like they're just kind of there, you kind of get through them, and that's it. Like there's nothing
Yeah,
too
they are sort of,
interesting.
they are sort of the bog standard enemy. So
Yeah.
here's some fire crossbow ones here. So what would you give them out of 10?
Maybe like a
Difficult to
4. I don't think they're too hard to like beat.
Yeah, I'd probably give them like a 3 out of
Yeah.
10. As you said, on their own they're kind of a bit meh. But then they aren't always on their own. Sometimes they're joined by these Hilichurl, which are the sort of magic ones. You see the one with the staff there? He
Yeah.
summoned these thorns to get in the way.
See, that's more interesting. It's like a little, like probably gonna be the old one of the village that's
Yeah,
learnt
the
magic or
elder.
something. Yeah.
We also see here there are different elements. So we have one here that uses wind power, anime.
Yeah. See, that's way more interesting. I mean, the other ones are still really boring, but
But they sort of to get in your way and
yeah.
interrupt you while you're trying to fight the Hilichurl. And here we have two together, the anime one and a cryo one. So you can see you're trying to dodge all these cryo spikes, while also there's whirlwinds blowing you away and things.
See, that looks actually fun to fight, and like it would be a challenge.
So what would you give these out of 10?
As long as they're paired with like the boring ones, probably 7.
Yeah, okay. I'd probably say they don't have super high health, so I wouldn't quite give them that high of a difficulty. And next, another Hilichurl sort of variant, I suppose you could call them. These are the Mitichurl, which are like the big, strong ones. And they have different varieties of weapons. So this one has a shield and will do big shield bashes. They'll do this big shield charge where they charge at you with the shield and knock you back.
It looks like a bull.
It does a bit, yeah, with the horns, or a minotaur.
Yeah, and like the way he charges as well. And
Yeah.
headbutts.
This one has a big axe. You see, he pulled a pyro slime out of the ground and put his axe on fire with it.
See, looking at the other types, it just makes the first one look even worse. Like, why do they even exist?
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, but it's not anywhere good.
And finally, here's a cryo shield one, similar to the normal shield one, but it's cryo instead of wood.
But it's just more interesting. I mean, yeah, like they're probably going to be relatively difficult. It looks like they've probably got a lot of health and defense.
You're right. What would you give them out of 10?
Probably the same as the other one, about 7.
Yeah, I'd say this is a more higher number. I'd say because, as you mentioned, they have a lot higher health, they take a lot longer to deal with.
Yeah.
And we're going to the last in the Hilichurl family. These are called a Hilichurl, and these are massive.
Like a big mountain.
Yeah, so these are the Geo ones.
Right.
And as you saw, he sort of, at the start of the fight, he gave himself a big Geo shield, and now he's glowing. So all of his attacks do extra Geo damage.
Yeah.
You see he does some big slams and punches.
So, like, if your character was Geo, would you take less damage from a Geo type? Or
Not exactly.
is that not how it works?
So Geo's an interesting one where Geo is strong against Geo,
Right.
but most elements are not. So Geo attacks will get rid of their shield easier. This Cryo one, for example, if you have a Pyro attack, you will hurt his shield
Okay,
better
yeah.
there. I quite like this one. They have slightly different moves. So this one is that big jump. Instead of doing a big line of Geo, he does a big circle of Cryo around him.
I think going from just the health bar on top, it seems like it's almost like a...
It's like a mini boss.
Yeah, that's
I think,
the right word.
I think they're technically elite enemies. So what do you give those?
8.5.
Yeah, fair enough. They're definitely up there on the difficult scale, I would say. Next, we're going to go on to a Whopper flower. So these, if you see here, I'm just picking the mints like normal. This one has a speech mark. If you try to pick that mint, it's actually a Whopper flower.
I don't like that it could be pyro. It doesn't seem like a flower should, or like mint especially, should be fire.
Yeah, I kind of get what you mean. There are several elements. You'll
Yeah,
see
I mean,
next.
if the little like mint things look different for each thing, so you can kind of tell which type it was going to be, though, I feel like that would be a lot better.
They don't all come from mints. It was
Yeah.
just that particular one was a mint. So
I
this was
know.
doing a lot of pyro effects, which were making everything on fire.
Like, it looks fun to fight, but just a bit boring. Like, it's one that isn't always there, and you can tell when you're going to fight it. So it's kind of like an optional fight in a way, I feel like. So.
Only if you're paying attention.
Yeah, but
See, they have a shield while they're charging up.
that fight's cool. I like that.
So what do you think you give these out of 10?
Probably a 5.
Fair enough. Yeah, they have a lot of health, but they are quite easy to deal with, especially when they have their shield up. If you break their shield before they do their charge attack, then they get stunned. Next, we're going to go on our second group of the game, which are the Fatui. So the Fatui are agents from another country.
So are these all 3 separate things?
So these 3 are the sort of the main Fatui. So you have the Electro one, there's a Cryo one there, and a Pyro Sniper.
Right.
But they always come in different combinations of elements. You'll see later there's I think there's some for every element except Dendra at the moment, which is the grass one. Here we have a Cryo and a Hydro one, so you can see the Cryo, if they combine, they freeze you together, which is quite annoying. The Hydro one also heals their friends.
I quite like these people. Like,
I really like them as well.
I don't like the fact that they're people. I don't know why. I just feel like the monsters shouldn't be like humanoid.
Well, they are human.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
Well, you won't
I
like
want them to
most
be
of
like
the enemies in this game.
I want them to be more like animal and not like things.
Fair enough. What would you give them as a difficulty rating?
Depending on the combination, it could range between like a 5 and a 7.
Okay, I'd say they're quite difficult, especially as you mentioned, the combinations. The Electro one, specifically, if you don't have something to deal with his shield when he makes one, it's very annoying to do.
Said from experience.
Yes, I'm sure many people would agree. Next, we go into a Fatui agent. So these are sort of more higher ranked Fatui. As you saw there, he can turn invisible. He does lots of pyro attacks.
So when he turns invisible, can you still hit him? Or
Yes.
Is he...
So if you see here, he's got the Electro on him from one of my attacks, and you can actually see he's glowing now because I hit him with an element. He's still there, you just can't see him.
Yeah. They're quite interesting. I think they'd be really annoying to fight.
They can be, especially what you saw at the start where he had pyro spinning around him. You'll see in a minute as well.
It looks like he's got a load of tails as well.
Oh, well, on his jacket, yeah. So what do you think you give them out of 10?
6. I don't know. If they're on their own, probably only a 6, but if they're in a group, then maybe a bit higher.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. So here you can see he fell near the water, and I just pushed him off, and everything dies if it falls in the water. And finally, for the Fatui, we have the Fatui, I think it's Sissin Mage. So these are sort of magic Fatui, and they focus on summoning. So you see here, she summons some electro little fly things.
Yeah. She looks a bit like the character, I can't remember which one, but I remember she was a 5-star, and it was the one that looked a bit like a clowny magic person.
Electro?
Possibly, yeah.
Is it purple?
Yeah.
Clown? We'll have to find after. Here they have this big. The Electrons have this big shield they can summon, which zaps you when you're close by. It's very annoying to deal with.
They look pretty cool. I like these ones.
Yeah. The Cryo ones are much more defensive focused. The flies, you'll see there, they're shooting energy into her to give her a shield.
Oh, that's cool.
She also will command them to go and attack you.
So does every enemy have different elements?
Most of them do. Like the Hilichurls can either be normal, but they can have elements.
Yeah.
The Fatui definitely do. Some enemies, as you'll see, will have multiple. So would you give these out of 10?
I'd say they're probably quite hard to fight, so maybe about an 8.
Yeah, I can see that. I'd probably put them on par with the agents.
Right.
A lot of health.
Yeah.
On to the next group of enemies we have. First we start off with a Ruin Guard. So these are mechanical enemies.
Yeah, it's like a robot.
Yeah, exactly. So these are quite big and beefy. If you fire away, they'll shoot missiles at you.
These are cool. I like these ones.
They are very cool. I really like the Ruin selection.
I guess they're humanoid, but they're robots, so they're not. And
They're clearly not human.
Yeah. These ones are fun.
Yeah. See, they have big, stompy, quite slow moves.
Yeah. I mean, it does have the health bar at the top, though, which implies that it is a stronger character.
I think the elites all have health bars at the top, so... They also have this really annoying spinning move, where you have to pretty much run away the whole time.
Do these have other elements?
They don't, and they actually have this weakness. If you shoot them with a bow in their eye, twice, you can stun them like this. And then, after a few seconds, they'll get back up. So what do you give them?
8-ish.
Yeah, I would agree there. They're not necessarily difficult if you spend a lot of the time dodging, but you have to definitely make sure you dodge their attacks so you can get badly hurt. Next, with ruins, we have a ruin hunter. So these float, unlike the other ones, and they have 4 arms.
These look like the character. It's Lost in Space, a show I've been watching recently. It looks cool.
So you'll see with their arms, they sort of make spikes, which they attack with.
Yeah. I think I just like this set of characters, enemies.
They are. I really like them as well. They're very cool looking.
They're just interesting to watch, so I feel like they'd be quite interesting to play against.
So here you can see they can sort of fly further in the sky. If you don't have an archer, which I didn't, then you spend a lot of time dodging missiles as they fire them down at you.
I like how he just disconnects his arms and uses them as missiles.
Yeah, they look very cool. To shoot lasers, because missiles might not be enough.
Maybe you should learn to always carry an
I could. So what would you give them out of 10?
Probably the same as the other one, about an 8.
Yeah, I'd say they're probably slightly higher. They're a lot faster to deal with.
Yeah.
And as you saw, if you don't have an archer, it can be a pain to deal with. Next we have a ruin grader. So these are massive.
They're just like a big version of the one before, but just with like shoulder spikes.
Wait till you see what they can do there. So they can use a lot of energy weapons.
Yeah.
They're a lot bigger, as I mentioned. Shoots a laser. And these, instead of just shooting them in the eye, once you shot them in the eye, little slots open on the legs and you have to shoot them before you can.
That just sounds fun though.
Yeah, it is fun, but it's also very difficult. Especially when they're spinning like that. What do you think? You'd give that out of 10?
9 or 9.5.
I'd say so. They're quite uncommon, but when you do see them, it's sort of a big event to fight them. And they're huge, as you can see there. And then for the final ruin monster, which we've just recently got in the game with the newest iteration, we have ruin sentinels. So these are obviously a lot smaller, but they come in packs.
Yeah, they're like little flower things.
Yeah, I see them more as little snakes.
Oh, they look like the little lamp from Pixar.
Yeah, they do. And they can kind of transform a bit, you'll see later. Like that one sort of drilled itself into the ground.
Yeah.
And pops up somewhere else.
These are fun. I'm assuming they never come as just one.
I've not seen them yet come as just one. I've only seen them as a group. I haven't fully, as of recording this, I haven't fully explored Inazuma yet, so
I feel like they'd probably be quite easy with just one of them, but because if there's like 2 or more, it'd be quite chaotic.
Yeah, you saw that charging up explosion was sucking me in then.
Yeah.
So I had to sprint to get out of the way. So what would you give those?
As long as they're in a group of at least 3, I'd say about a 7.
Yeah, I don't think they're as strong as the other ones, but as you mentioned, in a group, anything can change. So next, we are going on to Abyss Mages. So you can see here there are 3 types of Abyss Mage. There's actually a 4th one which just came out in the game, but I don't have any footage of that one. But here we have a Hydro, a Cryo, and a Pyro Abyss Mage, and Electro has come in recently.
I like the ice one. I think that's my favourite. It looks cool. It's got like a weird fur head thing.
Yeah, it's a bit like a woolly jacket.
Yeah.
Or a coat.
It's the cutest one.
So each of them have slightly different moves. You can see the Pyro one is leaving these little fire things shooting.
Yeah.
The Cryo one is leaving ice around the ground, which hurts. And the Hydro one shoot little bubbles at you, which if you get caught in, you get stuck inside the bubble.
These are fun. Do they always come in sets of like different types?
No, so normally they are actually on their own or with Hilichurls actually.
Right.
Because Hilichurls are kind of dumb, so they coerce them to work with them. You can see that if you break their shields, they kind of sort of lie on the floor and can't really move around.
Yeah.
They can fight back still. You'll see there they're going to start doing these different magics to try and summon their shields back. So they're not completely defensive.
These are fun. I like these ones.
What'd you give them then?
In a group of each other, probably about 7, but if they're just with the Hilichurls, maybe like a 5.
I would say on their own they're maybe not in the ruin levels, but they are quite difficult,
Yeah.
I'll say.
Okay.
To the next kind of recent addition to the game, we have some more Abyss creatures. So this is the Abyss Herald.
Ooh. This one looks cool.
A lot bigger than the Abyss Mages.
There's different art style as well.
Yeah, they're
It's
a lot
less
more.
derpy and blobby. It's more
Yeah.
refined, I guess.
So you can see this one. This one's a hydro one, a water one. And he has lots of water slashes, and he just shoots. Can shoot water.
So do his arms become swords?
They do look like they do. Yeah. They sort of have magic swords come out of their arms.
Yeah.
So with the Abyss Herald, what happens when you get into low health like this? They spawn this shield, which is hydro. So obviously, if you have a hydro character, you can't hurt them.
Mm.
And then they sort of go into an enraged state and start doing much faster attacks. You hear him doing lots of Beyblade spinning, attack much faster. He does this new attack where he shoots out in all directions.
Oh, I like this one. These ones cool.
What would you give those out of 10?
An 8.
So I'd probably give them like a 9.
Alright.
These are really tough.
What would you say is the hardest element?
I don't know. There's only 2 elements of
Oh,
these,
okay.
which I'm going to show you the next one because they're slightly different. So next we have an Abyss Lecter. So these are similar to the Herald, but electro.
Just
And-
looks like a big sword.
It does a bit. These ones are less sort of sword focused, I guess. It has a book and it's casting spells.
Yeah. This one's like, it looks a lot more boring. It's not moving. I don't know. I just like it when they move quickly. I think.
Yeah, it sort of stays in place
Yeah.
and shoots from afar. You sort of have to go to it.
I feel like that would make it easier because it's a stationary target. I don't know if it would make it easier, but it feels like it does.
So here, this one has the Electro Shield. And it starts casting spells a lot faster at this point. It has a lot cooler spells as well.
Yeah, I quite like it, but I prefer the other one.
Fair enough. What do you think you'd give it out of 10?
I'd say a little bit lower. So if you put the 9 in the other one, I'd say this one's about an 8.
I'd agree with you, I think, yeah. I really like the design there. I think they look really cool. Okay, so we're going to the final group of enemies. Here we have the Treasure Hunters. So these are literally just people who are treasure hunters, or treasure hoarders, apologies.
These are boring.
So these, they kind of work together. So you see they have 2 people throwing different elements at you, like, and then you have this guy with a spade who, if you get hit by it, it blocks your vision for a bit.
It just doesn't look fun. It just looks like you've got across and you found some other people and they're just like, oh, I don't like you. And it just decides to fight. It's just, I feel like enemies should be more like creatures rather than people.
Well, you won't like any of these then. I think you will like. What would you give them out of 10 then?
They look very boring. Even though there are quite a lot of them, I'd say maybe about a 4 or 5.
Yeah, they're definitely, I'd say they're stronger than the Hilichurls, but they aren't too tough. Next, we have a new enemy, the Nobushi. These are samurai with like straw hats, and they're obviously a lot bigger and stronger.
I mean, they're a bit more interesting, but still on the boring side. Like, they're definitely not the best ones so far.
You see here, they do a lot of slashes where they'll put their sword in their sheath and then charge at you.
Yeah.
The one with the big hat here, he'll throw fireworks out at you.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely more interesting than the other ones, but I still feel like if you see them in the distance, you'd kind of avoid them.
So what would you give them out of 10 then?
A 5?
Fair enough. I'd say they're sort of on the same level as like a Hilichurl. The ones with the big shield and axe.
Yeah.
Really. And now for the final in this group, I think they're technically in the same group. It wasn't obvious, but I'm going to butcher the name here. The Kairagi. I think you'll quite like these. So these are obviously very samurai inspired.
Yeah.
It's like a Shogun.
I think they're definitely the most interesting of the group.
So this one has a fire abilities. He can apply fire to a sword. And then when he has fire and a sword, his attacks do pyro damage.
And you could just put him in the water and he's extinguished.
He's still got fire and a sword. If you see here, they can block as well. So if you're in the middle of attacks, you can start blocking, and he's immune to most damage when he does.
Yeah. Like, yeah, he's definitely more interesting. I just don't... It looks like more of a challenge because it is just a solo one.
So here we have, it's the same enemy but with Electro this time.
Yeah. It's got an enemy that if you see it, you'll go fight it, but it's one that you don't seek out as much, I feel.
Fair enough. And what would you give this out of 10 for difficulty?
Maybe about a 7.
I haven't had too much of a chance to fight these, but I would say they're probably like in the highs, sort of 7, 8s. Okay, we'll go on to the final enemy, which is another new one. This is the Mirror Maiden. So she does hydro damage,
Right.
and she can trap you in these cages. and cast spells on you while you're trapped. And she uses mirrors to cast spells.
This is quite cool.
I think this is a really cool design.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely an interesting one. Like the cage things as well.
Yeah, you have to sort of dodge
So
them.
if you don't have like range, then you're kind of screwed.
What you also see, they do these big charge attacks there, which you have to try and dodge. I really like the look of those with the mirrors.
Yeah.
And then they also have this teleports, which they can use to move out the way.
So is this just the water type then?
No, this is just it.
Oh right.
There's only this one type.
I hope they come out with more types.
They might do. This is only just literally 2 days ago, as of recording this, came out. So what would you give these out of 10, do you think?
Maybe about an 8.5.
I've literally only fought this one that I recorded, and I spent most of the time not attacking it. But I'd probably give it a high sort of 8.5ish as well, yeah. They were really cool. So, now you've had a chance to look at them all. Are there any that you thought were your favourites? Any you thought could have been better, could have been worse?
So I think the slimes are adorable. And they're really cute.
They are very cute.
But I think overall, my favourite would be the Ruin Hunter. I just really like the way that it kind of floats and it's got 4 arms.
It is definitely...
It uses the arms as weapons and it detaches them and everything.
It's definitely very cool. I think personally for me, the Mirror Maiden is my favourite. It is new, so it does have that going for it. Maybe I'll change my mind, but as of the moment, I really like the Mirror Maiden. It's really cool.
I think the worst ones for me would be the Hilichurls and the Treasure Hoarders. They just kind of seem like kind of bad groups of like humanoid-y things that are just kind of a bit boring.
I quite like the Hilichurl. I think they're quite sort of cute and have a bit of a funny sort of goofy atmosphere to them, which they're the sort of the low-level enemies that you start off the game fighting.
Yeah, I think I just prefer like slime, like creature type things with humans.
Fair
As
enough.
a general like enemy concept.
If you could add another enemy type to this game, what sort of style would you go for the next expansion maybe?
Yeah, I think some sort of like animal thing, because a lot of them are very either like human or robot-y type things. There aren't many animals.
What kind of animal?
I want to say some sort of wolf.
It's funny you say that, because the next video we're going to be doing is on the bosses of Genshin Impact. So join us next time when we look at some of those.
If you enjoyed this video, a like is appreciated, and if you really enjoyed it, consider subscribing. See you next time!